The modern progressive cities of the Pacific Northwest grew out of a phenomenal accident. When the glitter of Klondike gold spread its irresistible influence around the world in '98, they were young and small. But they grew up in a hurry. Gold-hungry hordes bound for Alaska and the Yukon passed through in a spurting stream, constantly in need of supplies, of settled communities to keep them equipped for the trails and trials that lay ahead. Vancouver, as the gateway to the fabled North, was the focal point for the drive and mushroomed with the impetus of the stampeders. The cities have changed in 50 years and the people passing through, but the spell of the Yukon holds its same fierce power over them. No lust for gold lures them north, but the adventurous urge to holiday in a land of storied deeds and breathtaking beauty. The ghosts of '98 are not long gone, nor too well buried. Whoever retraces their steps, even now, can sense their urgency, can taste excitement tingling on his tongue. The Klondike Trail today still starts at Vancouver, runs up the famous sheltered inside passage to historical Skagway, boom town of a more extravagant day. Then by rail over the spectacular White Pass to Whitehorse, and by Yukon River steamer to fabulous Dawson City, Trail's End. High up the inner coast of Vancouver Island, Alert Bay is the first port of call. This age-old center of Indian culture boasts one of the finest and most complete of all the remaining collections of totem poles. Weird they may look to 20th century eyes, but the poles serve a double purpose, preserving the art and the tradition of an ancient race. There's nearly 1,000 miles of calm, sheltered sea travel on the gorgeously picturesque inside route from Vancouver to Skagway. Four days of peaceful relaxation with all the comforts that the finest shipboard tradition can offer, plus a never-failing panorama of rugged island and coastal mountain scenery. Towns along the inside passage are not big, not gaudy, but comfortably busy in their own pursuits, and surrounded on all sides by the unsurpassed beauties of an unspoiled nature. Prince Rupert, last stop on the Canadian coast, is typical of them. Ketchikan, first stop in Alaskan territory, is regarded by many as one of the most picturesque of the Alaskan towns, important for the produce of its lumber mills and its large and active fishing fleet. No harbor in the world can outdo Ketchikan's for color when the fishing craft are home. With these occasional stops in unknown country to add a touch of spice, shipboard days drift idly and pleasantly by. As the steamship's whistle rouses them with promises of food, seabirds provide their share of simple entertainment. Organized activities, too, give lazy days a happy change of pace. Always fun is the masquerade, with passengers rivaling each other's outlandish costumes to provide laughs for themselves and the ship's crew. Juneau, Alaska's capital, was originally settled by Russians. Strikingly situated at the foot of a mammoth glacier and surrounded by dizzying heights, it is built compactly on a group of steep hills. The contrast between the Russian-built church and the colonial-style mansions clearly shows the city's mixed traditions. Everywhere, lovely gardens belie tales of the frozen north. Cut off from its hinterland by sheer mountain walls, Juneau depends on the sea for communication as well as for its livelihood. The city's only back door is the universal air. Yet mere geography can't separate Juneau from its true heritage. Comes the glorious 4th and the fleet's in, just as at San Francisco or New York. It's a time for parades, bands, the Star-Spangled Banner. Mainlanders, Alaskans, Indians, Filipino colonists all share the stars and stripes and their brotherhood under it. A short bus trip from Juneau takes passengers to the huge and timeless Mendenhall Glacier, the only glacier in Alaska that is accessible overland. Visitors to the River of Ice can see for themselves one of the tremendous agents that nature has used to shape the jagged, majestic land that is Alaska. Behind the Mendenhall, feeding it perpetually, is a mammoth ice cap, a solid, never-melting sea that is in strange contrast to the luxuriant summer blooms thriving only a few miles away. But it is at Skagway that the Alaska of gold rush days suddenly comes to life under the tourist's eye. Local people delight in reenacting the days of '98. Everybody flaunts a full-rigged miner's beard, dresses in old-timer's clothes, and does his best to act the part of a genuine sourdough. Even the woodcarvers, whose patient skill has improved on their original models, stick to tradition. It's an ancient Indian medicine rattle that he duplicates, not some newfangled toy from outside. The White Pass and Yukon Railway, a narrow-gauge line connecting Skagway, Alaska with Whitehorse, Yukon Territory, is unique among railroads of the world. Hugging mountainsides, skirting glacier-carved valleys, crossing precipitous gorges on towering trestles, it provides a trip without equal for thrills and spectacular scenery. Passing Inspiration Point, it reaches the summit and rolls down toward the miners' old log church, never completed but still standing. 10,000 people lived here once, and Lake Bannet was busy with the rafts of stampeders preparing to run the roaring river waters to the Klondike. Now, for 30 miles along the shore, there is nothing but gorgeous scenery, lush wild floral growth, reflections of mile-high mountains in placid waters. Carcross, halfway between Skagway and Whitehorse, offers an opportunity for an unusual side trip, an overnight cruise on the steamer Touchai over enchanting mountain lakes. Lofty mountains seem to bar the Tushai's way, yet she glides down a path of quiet loveliness through Lake Tagish to the tip of West Taku Arm, and a thrilling surprise. For here, in the heart of the wilderness, is hidden a dazzling garden spot, one man's monument to enduring love. Ben McCree is the secluded home where a prospector of 98 and his devoted wife created a beauty spot, to which they welcomed all who came their way. The friendly pioneer has gone, and the courageous woman who followed him to what must literally have seemed the end of the earth. But their home has been maintained for pilgrims with all its charm, all but the irreplaceable portion their presence imparted. Back in Carcross, the travelers have an opportunity to examine local color, to see the first engine to run the White Pass Road. They can meet the new style pioneer, whose courage is of more lasting value than gold. Gold, in fact, gets a panning from an old Indian guide, who delivers an unusual lecture to all comers. I found gold, but I haven't got any. So says Patsy Henderson. By now, most visitors agree with Patsy. The North has even greater treasure, a treasure of beauty. Whitehorse is the crossroads of the North. Air lanes of half the globe crisscross at its airport. The Alaska Highway lances through. And here is the southern terminus of the Yukon River steamers. A modern center since its wartime boom, Whitehorse is the precocious hub town of the New North. Modern houses rub shoulders with three-story heat savers, strange in design but practical for the long Yukon winter. Contrasted to both, Sam McGee's original Gold Rush cabin still stands. One of the unusual sights at Whitehorse is the old Indian cemetery. Tiny houses built over the graves contain the personal effects that are believed to be needed in the next life. These burial customs faithfully preserve the spirit of an unusual land. A few miles distant is notorious Miles Canyon, in its own violent way, also a cemetery. Just a stone's throw from the rocky trail where tourists now walk, scores of the more daring stampeders died in the swirling waters, trying to outstrip their rivals to the gold fields. But nowadays, travel in the Northland is a much simpler and a much safer affair. The Alaska Highway is a dependable year-round road into the very heart of the Yukon and Alaska. Modern bus fleets provide an excellent opportunity to view the highway's wonders in carefree comfort. No point on the 1,500-mile road is beyond the bus traveler's reach, nor beyond the helping hand of the drivers, who occasionally double as general delivery agents. The other modern carry-all of the New North is the airplane. There's hardly a settlement that isn't as air-conscious as the biggest southern city. Mainline service, complete with all the comforts. That's the rule here, as in more thickly populated parts of Canada and the United States. The airplane is another pioneer who came north to stay. But the traditional summertime highway of the north is the mighty Yukon River, with its efficient stern wheelers that can float on a heavy dew. Just as it was 50 years ago, the steamer trip down the river from Whitehorse to Dawson is one of the North's great experiences. Out of Whitehorse, across Lake LaBarge, into the narrow channels of the river, the paddle wheelers beat their sure and stately way. But the Yukon is no simple thoroughfare. With its ever-changing bed and its narrow, twisting course, it presents a constant problem to the experienced navigator. The big paddles slow down and reverse time and again as the ship holds to its restricted path. Settlements along the lonely, stretching shore are few and far between. But today, the Yukon, once the pathway to a promised land, is fulfilling the destiny begun in '98. The anchorages along the Yukon River are picturesque, simple, and businesslike. Sometimes it's a cargo of sacked ore ready for the refinery, and once a day, a fresh supply of cordwood for the ship's voracious furnaces. Dramatic high point of the Yukon trip is the passage through foaming Five-Finger Rapids. Downstream, the steamer rushes quickly through in a few exciting seconds. But upstream, it's a different story. Even with the help of a winch-wound steel cable from the shore, it's a slow and ticklish business. Once past the Five Fingers on the way north, the Yukon widens and the cliffs loom higher. The rugged character of gold country takes shape. And then comes an exciting moment, the arrival at Dawson, end of the Klondike Trail. Once Dawson was a city of dreams, dreams fulfilled and dreams frustrated. The end of the rainbow where sometimes waited the pot of gold, and sometimes only a mud hole to bury shattered and discarded hopes. Only the faded shell remains of the extravagantly gay and fever-pitched city. The metropolis of the North that Robert Service immortalized for his 35,000 neighbors has shrunk to a handful of men. Men who still wrest from the valleys the remnants of riches once free for the taking. Modern engineering has made a science of extracting the precious ore from deep within the glacial river beds. Monstrous dredges, strange, misshapen mechanical offspring of the simple cradles of the early prospectors, reach far below for the final treasure of the battered valleys. Almost imperceptibly, they cross the flatland, churning it up and extracting whatever of value has lasted through the years. Honoring only the gold they find, the dredges spew out behind them the rubble they rake from below. From above, the snake-like tailing piles make a grotesque maze, a random patterned wasteland that is a fearsome monument to man's persistence in his search for gold. Like in the smaller valleys, a few hardy believers still work at an older method of uncovering pay dirt, chewing away at the eroded hillsides with powerful streams of water, uncovering enough gold to make it worth their while to stay. And back of beyond, on the far outskirts of the once rich Bonanza field, stubborn old-timers are still to be seen, patiently picking their way toward a still bright dream of wealth. For a long time, these men and the hard-won nuggets they cherish will remain symbols of the questing spirit that pioneered our continent's last frontier, the Klondike, land of promises fulfilled.